Good morning, Alabama State University. Good morning. Where it is still a great time to be a Hornet. Yes. Where, you can clap for that. Where when you teach class, the world still takes note. Yes. Where, in the words of the mighty marching horns, the price of glory is still high. It is an honor for me to return to the grooming ground for so many barrier breakers and history makers here at Alabama State University. You know, a few years ago, Beyonce had a chart-topping song, "Let Me Upgrade You." Alabama State University has upgraded me. And I also let me thank our interim president, Dr. Leon Wilson, a mentor to many, for allowing me to stand before you on this auspicious occasion. I have known Dr. Wilson since 2011 and has always been a wonderful man to give me wisdom and insight when I needed it. So Dr. Wilson, thank you. Dr. Gunn, no pressure with the introduction. Dr. Gunn is not only a Facebook friend, but a real friend. The consummate administrator, and just a wonderful person to have in my life also as a mentor, so thank you. I must also thank Vice President Fluker for reaching out to me. She said, "Rice, every 21st, what are you doing?" I didn't even look at my calendar. I knew that I would be here. Vice President Fluker, I believe, has her hand on the pulse of the 21st Century University, so thank you, soon to be Dr. Fluker. Matthew Henry, the English minister, said that those who teach others ought to be themselves well instructed. I have been well instructed. Before I acknowledge my former professors, let me first acknowledge my first professor, my mother. Will you please stand, Mother? Thank you so much. But as I got older, my mother sent me to Mother ASU, where I had the honor of studying under Dr. Dorothy Archer, Dr. Howard Robinson, Dr. Burtis English. Thank you all so much for coming, Doc. I see you. Thank you. I have to also acknowledge Dr. Janice Franklin. Dr. Janice Franklin hired me almost 10 years ago. She interviewed me with a fitted hat, shorts, and flip-flops. And she somehow saw in me what I did not see in myself. I didn't know it then, but that was my first academic apprenticeship, so Dr. Franklin, thank you. If it takes a village to raise a child, everybody, it takes a university to mold a student. I'll say that again. If it takes a village to raise a child, it takes a university to make a student. Dr. Haywood, I'm sure, understands that mantra very well. But everyone who taught me here did not do it in the classroom. Ms. Eunice Hunt Jackson, Ms. Sandra Malone, Ms. Evelyn Bowen, thank you so much for pouring into me every time you saw me. It meant so much to me. Thank you. I mentioned all these names, everybody, because John Locke said something 400 years ago, that all of us are born with the tabula rasa, a blank slate. So regardless of how smart you think you are, somebody taught you something. You learned something from somebody. You know, we must always be humbled by the limits of our knowledge. So, graduates soon to be, honor students, it is an honor for you to stand here today to be here, but understand that, again, somebody else had to prepare you. But a few weeks from now, you will get up on the day of commencement. You will be at the mental intersection of anxiety and excitement. Ladies, you will put on your best dress. Fellas, you may put on your cold Hans shoes, and if you ain't no Omega Man, you may even put on your gold boots. At that point, you deserve it. You're going to stroll across this platform. You're going to shake Dr. Wilson's hand. And I can see the magnificent Marion Nine now smiling down, saying, bragging about you to the founders of Howard, and Hampton, and Morehouse, and Spelman. These are the seeds that we planted 150 years ago. These are the seeds. Now then, most of you all are in your 20s. Some of you may still say, well, I've made it. You know, there's nothing else for me to do, but let me dispel both of those myths for you. Know that this ceremony, your future graduation, is not a period that ends the great census of scholarship, but a comma that continues into much loftier significance. But some people misunderstand the importance of an education. The pioneering sage and scholar W.E.B. Du Bois said that the purpose of an education is to be a missionary of culture to an untaught people. A few sentences later, Du Bois said that education must certainly teach men to think, but they should think for truth and not for fame. It's more than money, everybody. It took me a long time to learn that message. Dr. Archer, if you were in here, you told me that many times. Writing in Morehouse College's newspaper in 1947, King said that education should not be perceived as an instrument of exploitation. You can't look down on others because they haven't had the same opportunities as you. You must always lift as you climb. Because when we stop lifting, we all stop climbing. James Baldwin said another way. The paradox of an education is this: that as soon as one becomes conscious, one begins to examine the society in which he is being educated. I'll say it again: as soon as one becomes conscious of the society in which he is in, he understands education in a different way. Now, though we understand the true purpose of an education, many times we are paralyzed by what we perceive as an impediment. Youth. I wish not to offend anybody because of any religious sensibilities, but I believe the author of 1 Timothy said something when the author wrote, "Don't let anyone look down on you because you are young, but set an example." Harvard Council Trenton was 25 years old, I believe, Dr. Robinson. 25 years old when he assumed the presidency of Alabama State Teachers College for Negroes, and remained in that position until 1961. Mordecai Johnson, 36 years old, becoming the first black president of Howard University. 36 years old. Martin Luther King Jr. went to college at 15, graduated at 19, earned 180, earned a seat in public speaking. So there's hope for all of us. Imagine King earning a seat in public speaking, everybody. But everyone will understand why you are here. Everyone can't see what you see. You know, I have a wonderful support staff at Lincoln University, but sometimes they know not to expect me until 9 to 9:30. Now, I still get 50 hours a week, Dr. Because I'm often late in the morning because I play dress up with my two daughters, Madison and Marley. You know, Marley likes to walk around with my neckties. Madison likes to walk around in my 10.5 size shoe. But one morning, Madison also had an afro wig and she was mocking me while teaching a lecture on the modern civil rights movement. But just last week, she put on my glasses. She said, "Daddy, my vision is distorted. You know, I feel like I'm walking up and down steps." And what Madison did not realize was that this prescription was not for her. So everybody can't see what you see. Everybody can't wear your glasses. As leaders of what Du Bois referred to as the talented 10th, we have to understand there is an impassable gulf between success and significance. I'll say it again. There is a gulf between success and significance. By all credible standards of measurement, everybody, certain people are unqualified successes in their respective spheres. Adolf Hitler, the leader of Germany's Third Reich, was successful. Dr. Benjamin Carson, the first neurosurgeon to separate conjoined twins at the brain by all standards of measurement, is successful. Clarence Thomas, the distinguished jurist and second African American to sit on the Supreme Court by all standards of measurement is successful. But one becomes successful, I argue, by not embracing fortune or fame. E. Franklin Frazier said it this way, that our schools must recommit themselves to making men and not money makers. We must recommit ourselves to making men and women. But I want to say this to you. Success is what you achieve, everybody. Significance is what you leave. Success is what you achieve. Significance is what you leave. But I feel compelled to remind you that being socially and civically responsible is not always moonlight and magnolias. Particularly when one is devoted to uplifting the marginalized people. That is your job. You are the talented tender. I often tell my students that when society erects a 15-foot wall, you must be prepared to climb a 16-foot ladder. I'll say it again. When society builds a 15-foot wall, you must have the strength, the endurance to climb the 16-foot ladder. So no matter whatever comes before you, you must be prepared to tackle. I often tell my students also that I have several responsibilities. But at the end of the day, I have to fly the plane. Which means no matter what problems come across your desk, no matter what happens with family, you still must have to fly the plane. People are depending on you. You can't let family down. But for minorities in this country, and I'm almost finished, Dr. Vaughn. I know she told me 12 minutes, and I know I'm running over there, but I'll be quick, I promise. Minorities in this country have had a troubling time, and I can never shy away from this here in Montgomery. We have to understand exactly what we are grappling with. So much has been heaped upon minorities: disfranchisement, limited avenues of redress, systematic racism. Yet we continue to grow through concrete like grass. Dr. Gunn, you're a scientist. You know exactly what an extremophile is. We are human extremophiles. What do I mean by that? Extremophiles are organisms that know how to grow and thrive in inhospitable environments. Someone who can thrive in spite of everything that is around you: slavery, Jim Crow, a Trump presidency, can all be classified as dangerous and inhospitable environments for people of color. However, we have survived. We'll continue to thrive because there are places like Alabama State University. But as I close, you have now secured the license to become unruly. Or in the words of Vincent Harding, bad Negroes. Those are Vincent Harding's words. A bad Negro is one who engages in actions that will become uncomfortable. I once again summoned Carter G. Woodson. He wrote to us many years ago that everything that is right is not always expedient. And what is expedient soon becomes unnecessary. Several years ago, 2010, my daughter, Madison, was born. 4 months later, her mother passed away. Unexpected. Everybody said, Roland, you should send your daughter to Atlanta. Your mother is there. Your grandmother is there. Everybody would understand. You're working on a PhD that will provide a future for your daughter. But I sat down one day in the living room and I evaluated what was really at stake. I said, well, my father was never there for me. I don't know how to be anybody's daddy. But I realized at that moment that somebody was relying on me. And it took this support system here to be on the stage. Worked with me while I raised my daughter. Worked in Alabama State, a full-time graduate student. I don't say this because I'm just so brilliant, because I'm not. But I do understand that the same thing that you all understand. And that is, when people rely on you, there is no room for failure. My favorite movie is The Godfather. Vito Corleone says, well, you know, women and children can afford to be careless, but not men. Men, you cannot afford to be careless. But as a student and soon to be alum, I want to leave you all with this. It is necessary for you all to take the path of servant leadership that others are ill-equipped to travel. If there is an unjust law, you, Alabama State, are supposed to oppose it. If there is a vacant political seat at the local, state, or national level, you are supposed to occupy it. If someone needs to build the bridge to the little man, the forgotten man, to political or economic equality, Alabama State, you are supposed to build it. If there is a sermon, Alabama State, that people need to hear, you are supposed to preach it. Be prepared to fight for your convictions, Alabama State. Muhammad Ali said that the will must always be stronger than the skill. But understand, people did not like Ali until he was unable to talk. America did not embrace Ali while he was a vocal opponent of the social constructs that society had heaped upon people of color. But we are in the battle of our lives, Alabama State. And that battle forces all of us to rise to the occasion. We must be prepared to resist and fight. One man said that we must fight until hell freezes over, and then be prepared to fight on the ice. So unreasonable students, greatness has been earmarked and appropriated for you. Embrace your greatness. God bless you. I love you.